Hi, thank you for visiting Vorian. My name is Vori, and if this is your first time, then a sub and a like to the channel would be great, would be very helpful to support the channel. Now we are going to talk about several points about the pros and cons of the game that is showing to you right now, Assassin's Creed for PC Steam. Now we may be experiencing a different kind of gameplay with the one on Nintendo Switch. So let's focus on the one that I actually played, the PC Steam version from 2007. And I'm pretty sure it's already enhanced as well from the original game itself. So let's talk about the pros for now. There are several points that I could tell you in consideration of buying to get this game or to trying out playing it, because mind you, it's not a recent game. So Assassin's Creed arrived at a time when an open world action games were becoming more prevalent, but none had quite blended historical fiction with parkour and stealth in this way. It introduced the idea of a social stealth system where blending into crowds and using environmental elements were crucial for avoiding detection. This was a novel approach compared to simply relying on direct combat. So it's a groundbreaking concept, of course. The concept of the Animus allowing players to relive ancestral memories provided a unique narrative framework and a justification for the historical setting. This narrative device was a fresh take on storytelling in video games. The climbing mechanics were novel and provided a sense of verticality that was uncommon at the time. Now, the second point that is actually good about the game is the atmosphere and setting. The game's recreation of 12th century Jerusalem, Acre, and Damascus was meticulously detailed, capturing the essence of these cities during the Third Crusade, though it is still a fiction. The bustling marketplaces, the diverse populations, and the architectural landmarks all contributed to a sense of immersion. The social stealth mechanics, such as blending into crowds and eavesdropping on conversations, created a palpable sense of tension and intrigue. You were constantly aware of your surroundings and the potential for detection. The lighting and time of day systems, while dated, helped to create a believable world. Now, the third point for pros, the PC flexibility. Playing on PC offered the potential for higher resolutions and frame rates than the original console releases. Depending on the player's hardware, this could enhance the visual fidelity and smoothness of the gameplay. This one includes the Nintendo Switch version, of course. And the PC platform also offered the potential for modding, although the original game's modding scene was not as robust as those of later Assassin's Creed titles. However, the potential was there for players to customize their experience. Keyboard and mouse control offer a different playstyle than console controllers, and some players preferred the increased precision, although I definitely not going to recommend that choice. Fourth point is philosophical depth. That is also a strong point for the game. The narrative explored complex themes of free will versus determinism, the nature of power, and the justifications for violence. The conflict between the assassins and Templars was not presented as a simple good versus evil dichotomy. Both sides had their own ideologies and motivations, which added nuances to the story. If you are like me, English is your second language, the game itself originally not having a English subtitle or maybe even other languages, so you might want to raise your volume or, add some mod for it. Altair's journey of self-discovery and his questioning of the Assassin's Creed provided a thought-provoking narrative arc. The conversations with the target added a lot of philosophical weight to the game. The game encourages the player to think about the nature of truth and the cost of violence. And actually, it was pretty strong points in the showing in the game itself. The fifth point is animation quality. For its time, the animation, particularly Altair's parkour and combat movements, was remarkably fluid and realistic. The way Altair climbed buildings, leaped across rooftops, and engaged in combat, as you can see, was visually impressive and added to the game's immersive quality. And this is from early 2000s, mind you. The animations during assassinations were well done and added to the dramatic effect, and the way the NPCs reacted to the player's action was also well animated for the time. Now, for the sound itself, though I am unable to show you in this footage, but the ambient sound of the bustling city, such as the calls of merchants, the chatter of crowds, and the sounds of construction, created a rich and immersive soundscape. The musical score, composed by Jesper Kyd, was atmospheric and evocative, enhancing the emotional impact of the gameplay. Sound cues were used effectively to alert the player to potential threats and opportunities. The sound of Altair Hidden Blade and the impact sounds during combat were very well done. The gameplay itself and the sound design actually reminds me a lot of this classic pixel game on DOS, I think. I think it's the early beginning of Prince of Persia at the time. So it reminds you a lot of that. Okay, let's start with the cons points. So the contradictory points here, you may agree, you may disagree, just write it down in the comment section down below if you have different opinions. Now, I'm going to say that the first one is the repetitive gameplay. Though it does feel archaic now, the core gameplay loop, which involved investigating targets and then assassinating them, became repetitive after a few hours of play, and this happens with several cities, so you can imagine. The investigations themselves often involve performing the same tasks, such as eavesdropping on conversations or pickpocketing targets. The lack of mission variety led to a sense of monotony, which could detract from the overall experience. The game was heavily reliant on a small number of mission types, so go figure. The second point is the technical issues. The game suffered from compatibility issues with modern operating systems and hardware, which could lead to crashes, glitches, and performance problems. One of the main problems is the bug that keeps making your gameplay stutter. And there's a way for it, and I did it once, and then after an update or going through the games almost towards the end, it happens again. The physics engine was prone to glitches, such as characters getting stuck in walls or objects behaving erratically. Frame rate instability was a common issue even on powerful PCs, which could make the gameplay feel choppy and responsive. Well, not in this footage apparently. Well, a good thing. Control support was inconsistent and some players experienced difficulties configuring their controllers. It's not using modern type of controls, so you will experience uneasiness at first. You'll get used to it, but for the PC version, the explanations for the buttons, it's stated by number. The legends are stated by numbers. It's very confusing when you're not used to it at first. But on the Nintendo Switch version, though we're not talking about it, it's going to be the correct legends on it. Okay, let's go to the third point for the cons. It's the dated mechanics that might bother some people. Compared to the later Assassin's Creed, the combat and parkour mechanics in the original felt clunky and less refined. I might going to compare it when I tried the second one after this. The combat system was relatively simple, relying heavily on counterattacks and executions, and the parkour system, while innovative for its time, could be frustrating to use, with Altair sometimes falling to grab onto ledges or climb walls as intended, as I previously mentioned. The AI was very basic, and guards would often exhibit unrealistic behavior. Well, if you're expecting something so high from a game in early 2000s, then you're on the wrong platform, buddy. Fourth point of cons is the aging graphics. While the art direction was strong, the graphic fidelity of the original game was showing its age. The character models and texture were relatively low resolution, and the environments lacked detail compared to modern games, so don't compare them. The lighting and shadow effects were also dated, which could make the game look flat and unrealistic. The draw distance was limited, and pop-in was common. Limited vision and variety is the other point that I would like to emphasize. Despite the expansive open world environments, the actual gameplay objectives were often very similar. The lack of variety in mission types led to a sense of repetition and monotony, as we talked about before. the game would have benefited from more diverse mission objectives and gameplay mechanics. The side missions were also very repetitive, but it's still a lot of fun. It's an old game, and at the time, people are already satisfied with the graphics and the mechanics itself. So it just feels a little tiring because the world is rather big. Last point for me is the poor PC optimization. Even for its time, the PC port of Assassin's Creed had optimization issues. As I mentioned before, the stuttering, the bug, the eternal bug, I guess, because it keeps popping up. Frame rate instability was a persistent problem even on high-end systems. Graphical glitches such as texture flickering and tearing were also common, and the game was not well optimized for a wide range of PC hardware configurations. So, what do you think about Assassin's Creed, the original one for PC, or the others for consoles as well? Let's talk about that here. Do you think that this game worth a try even in like right now, 2025, in later years? Or should people just skip through the series? Because they're saying that Ubisoft, I think there's like an agenda of remaking the game. I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not. Talking about it in 2025, the condition of Ubisoft is not very well stock-wise. So in the end, the original Assassin's Creed on PC Steam is a historically significant game that introduced a revolutionary concept, an immersive historical setting. Its philosophical depth, animation quality, and sound design remain noteworthy. However, it suffers from repetitive gameplay technical issues, dated mechanics, aging graphics, limited mission variety, and poor PC optimization. If you're interested in experiencing the origins of the franchise of exploring its unique atmosphere, it may be worth playing. But be prepared for potential frustrations due to its age and technical limitations. Essentially, it is a piece of gaming history, but not necessarily a great modern gaming experience. Thank you for visiting Varian. Until next time.